Do you live where it gets cold, where it gets below 32 degrees? In this video, I'm going to show you how to winterize our equipment to make sure that we do not freeze up a pump, or we do not freeze up a hose and blow a hose, or a reel, or any other thing. So with that all being said, I So originally I did say there's a couple things we could use, and I'm kind of corrected on myself. I called Mr. Rust just to make sure, and then once I got talking to him, I'm like, yeah, that don't make much sense to myself. So I would suggest there's a couple ways we can do this. You can use regular antifreeze, which we'll have to dilute down to 50-50, and I'll show you, we actually won't dilute it down that far starting out today. Or we can use RV antifreeze, and that way we're just going to get everything out, pour it in, and then we'll just run it, and once it's done, it's done. That system, we really can't go out and do more house washes and bring it back and do it. So the best way to do it, I'm going to show you, is the first thing we need to do is drain all our tanks, all our lines, everything like that, and that way we get as much water out as we can. We can blow it out, and I've done that before. If you got access to an air compressor, what I actually did is I made a little tip or nozzle that I could screw in, and I could blow all that air in through there and blow it out. But you got to remember that in this pump, all it takes is just a little bit of water in there, and it will crack the housing. It'll blow a hose up, all kinds of different things. So the way I'm going to show you today is I'm going to use 2/3. Most of the time antifreeze, we're going to use 50-50. In the car is kind of 50-50 is the standard. Well, today I'm going to actually go a little bit stronger. I'm going to go 75% antifreeze to 25% water. And the reason why I'm going to do that is if I need to use this unit, what I can do is put me in a bucket there, drain what I have in my tank, and then start filling it up with water, and then just drain everything out. And then when I go back to pour that back into my tank, it's going to get closer to 50 and 50 every time I do it, because it's going to add a little bit more water to it, and that way I'll still be at 50-50. If I just went at 50-50 and I drained it all and I started again, then it's going to actually get me down below 50-50, and then a possibility to freeze. If you're in an area that you don't have to worry about freezing, then you don't have to worry about this. Like if you're probably from, I know Tennessee sometimes can get down into the upper 20s, but anywhere from basically Kentucky up, you got to worry about freezing. You will freeze a pump up. I've froze a pump up. It'll crack the housing right in half. I've seen pressure washing hose get froze, and it'll split it right in half. So we want to make sure we are getting all the water out to make sure we are good to go. So right now, as we are speaking, I'm actually draining my hose. So that's why I'm kind of, and so I'm going to drain everything out, and then we'll go from there. So again, all my hoses are open. You can see I'm draining my water tank. I'm draining my water tank right there. Once my water tank is empty, I'm going to put a gallon of antifreeze in, and I'm going to bring both my lines into my tank, and I'm going to show this, and then I'm going to flow the water into there, so that way I know that all that antifreeze has gotten down into all my lines, on my reels. My reel manifolds ain't got a possibility to freeze and all that kind of stuff. Another thing, if you have any surfactants, any surfactants, F13, anything like that, we need to put inside the house. We don't. If you let that stuff freeze, then it's no good. So if you have any chemicals in your trailer that you're worried about freezing, you need to get it inside, so then that way you don't have to worry about it freezing. But again, I'm going to let this drain down, and then we'll get this. So this is a great reason why we put a valve here to empty our tank, so that way we can empty the tank and get all the water out. Once all the water's out, we'll shut the valve. I'll fill it up with antifreeze. I'll put my antifreeze in there, and then I'll run it. Next thing, I got my tank emptied, just very little bit in it. We're going to put antifreeze in it. Before I said we could use windshield washer fluid. Windshield washer fluid isn't the best thing to use to winterize. And the reason why is this stuff here has glycol, and it has stuff that helps not fight, it helps fight rust and that kind of stuff. And it also doesn't have alcohol in it. So it's not really going to hurt your seals and that kind of stuff. Where windshield washer fluid has alcohol in it, and it may start attacking your rubber seals and all that kind of stuff. So that is why we use antifreeze versus windshield washer. And I know I had said windshield or washer stuff before, but this is why I would really use antifreeze. Remember, don't let your dogs drink this stuff. It will kill them. It will kill everything. This stuff is pretty serious. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to fill this. I'm going to put this straight in here. We're going to put my gallon of antifreeze in here. And that way we can, and then I will turn my pump on and start running it. And it will, and then that way we'll get it all good and mixed up. So the next thing we're going to do is start this pump up. It might be loud. I don't know if you'll be able to hear me or not. And I'm going to do the next thing with my, actually I'm going to run it a little bit before I put it in there, of my, my 12 volt. There is a little tester that I'm going to stick in that tank to make sure that I'm the correct percentage. I think I'm actually a little less. I only got a gallon of antifreeze, which was $12. So I'm going to have to go get another, at least one more gallon. I might actually get two, so that way I know I'm strong enough. But the purpose of doing it this way is once I get it all in there, what I can do is I can actually dump out my water into my thing, and then when I start flowing water out, I can pull all that antifreeze into my 5-gallon bucket. When I'm ready to go redo it, I can pour that all back into my pump, and then or into my water tank, and then it'll circulate it all up, and we're still ready to go, even when so we're not ready to freeze up our pump. But this is how we can put antifreeze into our pump and keep it from freezing up, because the last thing we want to do is freeze up a $600 pump or a $400 hose reel or a $1,000 hose reel and screw that stuff up. So it is very important to make sure you winterize your stuff to make sure it keeps from freezing. So actually I'm going to have to go buy another 2 gallons because it's supposed to get into the 20s later on this week. And so I'll put some more antifreeze in there and run it a little bit more, and that way I know that I won't have to worry about it freezing. Hope this helps you out and keeps you from freezing up your pump.